Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, and I'm going to share with you the books that I have read for the month of July all the way up to reading Rush Week. Wow, that's a mouthful. So I have 5 books to share with you. We'll see how quickly I can accomplish this. The books that I have to share, I'm just deciding to do this now because I know reading Rush reviews are probably going to be pretty long. And I really don't want to try to edit an hour-and-a-half video. So let's just get started on this because y'all know how long I talk and I'm just very passionate when it comes to my books. I want to talk about the audiobook that I...
Copyright 2018 by Hannah Anderson.
I'm going to talk about the audiobook that I finished this month, and that is All That Is Good by Hannah Anderson. And this is Recovering the Lost Art of Discernment, and the narrator was phenomenal on that. I cannot recommend this book enough. Like, it was really well presented in the sense that it's very simplified. So for an audiobook, I learned that things like Knowing God by J.I. Packer and things like that, like, it can get pretty intense. To listen to it audio, and you have to, if you're doing something, you can't necessarily pause, rewind, try to find the spot, and then reread that over again. It just gets a little hard. And this was presented very simply. I could follow it along. When I had some thoughts, it wasn't a problem to pause it and just kind of reflect or go back and find that section. It sounds weird to say that certain books you have a harder time finding where you were, but when you get into deep theological words and doctrines and things, it's actually really hard because they repeat several ideas multiple times. Hannah Anderson has a formula she follows, which is kind of present scripture, and then she kind of shares it with a life experience, whether it's thrift store shopping, pearls, how they're coming about, or several other things. She kind of follows a formula where she talks about a memory, experience, or information about that, and then kind of uses that to apply to a Philippians 4:8 verse on learning how to discern different things that we have in life. So it sounds complicated when I put it like that, but it was very simply put, and I wanted to stress that because when I went to Goodreads and was reading some of the reviews, someone had made the comment that this wasn't very in-depth, it didn't present enough, and she had recommended some other books that I have known to be very kind of deep and going deeper and deeper yet. And sometimes, and especially with audiobooks, like I need something straightforward. I'm a mom, I'm doing different things. I can't do J.I. Packer every day kind of mentality. So biblically sound, I did not see anything that raised any flags, or hear anything, I should say, that raised red flags. The only thing that I was like a little okay, sometimes I didn't think that her examples, her stories fit well with what she was the point that she was trying to put across. So in a sense, games, she has games as a story example at one point, and it just felt like it was kind of a forced kind of example like that. That whole yeah, it's all gone. Anyway, so hopefully you get what I mean there. So let's talk about some of these other books. So I have been reading Goodbye, Mr. Chips to the Boys. This is by James Hilton. This is kind of one of those classics, revered. And it was interesting. It was good. It's kind of a perspective on this college professor and his influence, or was it college? Or it might have just been like a prep school professor, and his influence with the students and his wife's influence on him. And it was probably not the best book to read to my boys as a read aloud. I vaguely remembered something about this, but I don't think it was the best choice. It was kind of dry at times, and it was a little difficult to really engage in my boys. There's not really a lot of action. It's more reflective kind of work. So it wasn't bad. Again, it's just kind of a reflective work, and I had some interesting takeaways from it. I kind of wanted to see the movie again. I think it's going to be one of those books that the movie did a really great job in showing a whole picture kind of aspect. Okay, so the next 3 books that I want to talk about, let's start with this one. This is Mother to Son, Letters to a Black Boy on Identity and Hope by Jasmine L. Holmes. And I kind of debated to put this information out there because I withheld it on Instagram for a specific reason, and it was pointed out. So I don't know if that helps or hinders the viewers looking for this. This is written by Vodi Bachman's daughter, and I kind of wanted it to stand on its own merit, not necessarily, Vodi Bachman's daughter, therefore it must have a lot of his thoughts and perspectives on it. And it's like, no, I don't have the same perspectives as my mother does on certain things, and I kind of just wanted this to be read by itself. And what I did love about this book is how Jasmine balances things out well. So she goes in and she's like, our identity is in Christ as a Christian person. And she kind of breaks that down as to what it is. And then she looks at it from a black person's perspective within the church. And she kind of shares some of the struggles that she had. So if she has a different thought, people label her as black extremist. But if she goes with the flow, she is countercultural to her culture. And she kind of just explains why some of these are very difficult within the church. She's highly respectful of her parents in this book. And I think that, especially within the conservative Christian group, there is some red flags with her. I don't really know how to put that because I have not seen anything anti-scriptural. Maybe she doesn't line everything up the way that I believe, but that doesn't stop me from taking the truths that she has. So, I don't know. I thought it was really well written, especially with how she just goes in and points out her vision for her son as a mom, and what that looks like within a Christian context, and then what that looks like with her race and all that. So I thought it was really well written. I really did enjoy this. Took away several ideas, thoughts. I have dog-eared all this because I need to buy more sticky tabs that I have here. I'm all out. So, since I have this is another nonfiction book that I read this month. It's dog-eared as well. Got some tabs. Got a place bookmarked that I wanted to readdress. And I did a review for this on my blog. And this was sent to me in exchange for a honest review. And interestingly enough, I actually have 2 copies because I signed up to do this review, and my mom had sent this to me and said, you need to read this. So I have 2 copies, and I will be sharing one with a young lady that I particularly know of, that I think she would really enjoy this. But Sarah Barrett just kind of breaks down the simple fact that the teenage culture kind of has a stigma about them, and how she wants to fight that stigma. and she wants the teenagers to rise up and expect better things of themselves. And honestly, this book, as I was reading it, I kept thinking, this is not just for teens. This is for all of us. And I was taking away some great thoughts, great points, I guess is what I could say. And again, I did a full review for this, so it's kind of funny when you do a review, it's like you pour yourself out, and then when you go back and talk over again, you're just like, did I make that point? Because now it's kind of confusing bringing them together. So I really encourage you to go check that blog post, is what I'm trying to get at. But she was heavily influenced by Do Hard Things by Alex and Brett Harris, I believe is, Brett. I remember Alex, I couldn't remember his name. Brett Harris, Do Hard Things. And so actually Brett Harris wrote the foreword for this book. And what I like about this is that Do Hard Things, from what I remember and from the little bit that I've actually read, remember I'm trying to read those and get a idea to approach my boys or my kids with these. Do Hard Things, I think, has a more straightforward approach, kind of things that would resonate with my sons better. This one is for teenagers, but because of how she, in her truth, but she's also a woman and she's very passionate, that can kind of get lost with my boys. My boys are just like, get to the bones, come on. And I think these two books are going to work really well, kind of meshing together for each of my kids. So the only thing that I was just, it always kind of makes me jerk a little bit, and it just has to do with, again, it's so minor. It wasn't, some of the ones that some books that I've read have really gotten into it, and that's just kind of like the Jesus is my boyfriend, falling in love with Jesus mindset. Now, Sarah Barrett thankfully never crossed that line to Jesus is my boyfriend. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. But the idea of loving Jesus so much as if he could be a boyfriend just kind of danced those tones that it's a little bit too much for me. But highly recommend this book. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. So I can't remember if I brought it all the way up to 5 stars on Goodreads or not. But it was really well written. And so now the last book I want to discuss is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right. Okay, I had high hopes for this. Everybody that I know that has read it, everybody personally that I know that has read it has given it glowing reviews. And that kind of made me nervous. It's a hype book, and okay. I think it had the potential to be an amazing book. I think it's going to be one of those that will be a classic within a few years. I think it just has the makings of that, with its discussions of different races, Chinese, Black, this utopia setting, and rich, poor. It has all the components of a classic. But it felt like a soap opera. A lot throughout the book. You have love triangles, you have teenage things, which, as passionate as I am for our teenagers in this culture, I have little patience when it comes to their drama, apparently. And this kind of has a lot of that. Some things that it discusses in here are things like abortion and parents without a father. It just had a number of things that wasn't necessarily the kind of thing that brought down stars for me. What brought down the stars for me on this is just that I felt like I was reading a soap opera. And you have a couple of main characters, but you have this mother and daughter that move into the neighborhood that are kind of nomads, and so this is like their last place that they're going to stay. And with that, they kind of upturn this shaker town, this utopian shaker town. They kind of upturn it with their ideas and life and things like that. And the daughter of this couple, so you have Mia and you have Pearl, and I believe Pearl was named after Pearl from the Scarlet Letter, so that kind of gives you an idea on that perspective of going into this book. And Pearl is not even sure how to say what I want to say without spoiling the book. But you do have your high school. They end up at a party. They end up doing things later on. So the two main high school girls end up sleeping with their boyfriends. And there's another guy in the picture that would like to be the boyfriend, and just, there's all of those that you're just, I don't go for it. What I really had wanted to know was more of this Chinese lady's story. So she ended up in a situation where she couldn't take care of her baby anymore. The Chinese lady was reduced to very low circumstances, to the point where she couldn't feed her baby anymore, and she leaves it on the fire station doorstep. And then years later, the other main character that moved into this utopian town figures out that it's where her baby is within this utopian town, and lets her know. And at this point, the Chinese lady has remade her life. She has built up herself, her work, and now can take care of the baby, and she wants to. And I thought that there was such a potential for this story to really work with this, but I think a lot of Celestine's ideas behind this book was just to show that these utopian towns, still have their under the radar problems, and that was being brought to light by somebody that kind of shook the town up. Kind of little play on ideas there. So, I don't know, I think I gave it 2.5, 3 stars in the end. The ending was very disappointing to me. I wanted more from the ending. I thought it was interesting, and this might help some of you out there, which is why I mentioned it. I thought it was really interesting that when I finished the book, I felt the same that I did when I finished Ethan Frome by Edith Wharton. Just kind of like this, okay, that's the end. It's unsatisfactory. And I keep thinking of, maybe this is real life. Maybe this is kind of what we expect. But within fiction, it's exposing some of our problems and things, but it hasn't really offered solutions in here. So maybe that's for us, the reader, to figure out. I'm not sure. Again, a lot of the classics kind of do that. Y'all remember my adamant dislike for how Tessa d'Urberville's ended with Hardy when he was trying to present some of the issues of his day. Typical classic, right? And so maybe that's why I think this has the potential to be that, because at the end you're like, well, that was good. So had some really, really good reads going on this month, along with the All That Is Good. And so, I mean, stat-wise, I have 3 nonfiction here and 2 fiction, so that's pretty good. But all in all, like, my fiction reading was kind of blah this month. But this is where I'm going to end it with, let me know in the comment section down below what you've been reading lately. And don't forget, Reading Rush Week. I have already shared the video for that. I'll leave it linked down below if I remember. I'm not very good at remembering things right now. Just so much going on, y'all. And that video will come out shortly here too. I know for sure I'm going to have, we're at Wednesday, and I know for sure I'm going to have 2 books to review for you or to talk with you about, and then the other 3 that I'm hoping to get to, but we'll see. We'll see what happens here. And I'm just going to leave it on that. So until next time, have another cup of coffee and read another chapter.